Hello everyone, I am Tiberius Ignat, and I will chair this session about citizen science and higher education, which I am confident will be a remarkable one. Briefly about me, I work closely with research organizations to facilitate their transition to open science and to contribute to the dissemination of trustful knowledge. We have today a lineup of 4 presentations in Vimeo, each of them about 8 minutes. We will then move to a Zoom channel provided by ECSA at 3 o'clock, 3 and 10 minutes. And then you will be randomly allocated to these 4 breakout groups. If you don't like the breakout group you've been distributed in, you can leave that room and return to the main room and request there to join another one. We'll then reconvene here 35 minutes later at 15:45 for learning what each breakout group has discussed, and we will close up at 1600 full stop. Our sessions will explore the relationship between the citizen science and the interests of academic institutions. We will go through networks of participants, the experience of teaching, and how citizen science can support this teaching experience. A university talent program will be explained, and then we will expand that to an end at the great idea of developing citizen science programs at public libraries. Good neighborhood for academic institutions, aren't they? Our first presenter today is Thomas Kaarsted, the Deputy Library Director of the University of Southern Denmark, and his part will be the Citizen Science Network at his institution. He has been the project manager for a number of citizen science activities in the last few years. His presentation, How New Network Can Broaden Participation Within Citizen Science, outlines data and research results from a Danish survey of citizen science, and will discuss how to broaden participation in citizen science. There will be 2 elements Thomas will present in his presentation, and he will give more details once he's on. The breakout will be reported by himself, by Thomas. Then we move to the second presentation, Encounters for Co-Creation of Citizen Science Teaching, presented by Dr. Henk Mulder, the Program Director of the Master Science Education and Communication at University of Groningen, the Netherlands. He is also the chairperson of science shops at his university. The presentation will actually gives a brief overview of current teaching on citizen science and higher education. And the breakout will be reported by Jacob Buur. Then the third presenter is Professor Jacob Buur at the University of Southern Denmark. He is professor of user-centered design, and he organizes talent programs for graduate students. His presentation, A University Talent Program in Citizen Science Builds a Community of Practice. Last but not least, it's a pleasure to have today with us Dr. Isabel Bonner, she's a member of Open Systems Research Group at University of Barcelona. She had been involved as researcher and coordinator in a variety of citizen science projects. Her presentation, Citizen Science with and for Public Libraries, from librarians' capacitation to research co-creation, and analysis of 2 Barcelona region-based projects. Her presentation focuses on exemplifying synergies that can arise when citizen science is introduced in public libraries, in that case through Citizen Science in Action program implemented in 26 public libraries at Barcelona Regional Council Library Network. The breakout will be reported by Anna Zigarini, and then that was much about the presentation. A bit of housekeeping. We will have these 4 presentations as said here, and 35 minutes of breakout groups in Zoom. We will remain in Zoom, and then in 15 minutes after that we'll report also in Zoom at 1600 full stop. After the 4 breakout groups, you will be, as I said, where you will be randomly assigned. You can continue, as I understood, to an extent the discussions if you haven't finalized, and then you can move to the Zoom social channel of which is set by ECSA. That's all from my end. Please feel assured that the whole session is well designed. You have read this safety policy from ECSA, safe space, and please act accordingly as all the recommendations there if you don't feel safe by any chance. Please pose your questions in the chat. We don't know if we will be able to respond all of them. The questions will be responded in the breakout sessions. And that's it. Thomas, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tiberius, and thank you for the kind introduction, and to ECSA for hosting us. I will start briefly by sharing my screen. So please bear with me for a second. Will someone confirm that you can see my screen and hear me, please?
I can see it. If that helps, I can see it.
Yes, thank you, Tiberius. The presentation is how new networks can broaden participation within citizen science. It's very important for me to stress that this was originally planned as a longer presentation when ECSA were to take place in Trieste. So I am presenting also materials right now that are not my own. So please bear with me that Torben Agergaard, Christian Wittfeldt has provided the analysis for the first part of the introduction. Tiberius, as you have already met, have contributed to this, and my good colleagues, Danielle and Katrina Overgaard from SDU, are also part of this presentation. What we will do in the next 7 minutes is briefly outline how new networks based around research libraries can potentially broaden participation in citizen science, and discuss it with examples from local, national, and international level. So part one is the finding by Associate Professor Christian Wittfeldt, who is also joining us here in my breakout group later. He and Torben has surveyed the Danish citizen science landscape and examined the needs and opinions among researchers for the demand of library services and how it can enhance collaboration within citizen science. And part two is 3 cases represented not only by myself at SDU, but also the LIBER Citizen Science Working Group and the model of broad engagement in science point of contact that Tiberius and Paul Erich has provided. So briefly, citizen science networks in Denmark, the results of a national survey. What Christian and Torben did was we had a Danish research library citizen science project that has been going on since the beginning of 2019. And as part of that project, Christian and Torben has sent out surveys and identified what is going on within the citizen science landscape in Denmark. So that is original research and data in itself. What they found out from this was there were quite a few projects ongoing, 64 they identified, and a collaboration between a vast different actors, not only research institutions and NGOs, but also public authorities, museums, archives, media companies. So perhaps the landscape was a little bit broader than you might think if you are at your own institution. Also, respondents who were researchers, citizen science entrepreneurs, people working within academia in general, had quite some important things to say about citizen science. And I think it's important to stress from their results that citizen science actually has the potential, according to this survey, to increase public understanding and public participation in citizen science, and also address societal issues and foster public debate, produce sound science. And I think that is important for all of us working within this field every day to know that there seems to be this potential. Also, part of the survey were directed at research libraries, which is where I come from as part of the Citizen Science Network at SDU. And as a deputy library director working within citizen science, I found it hugely interesting that 85% of the number of participants felt that research libraries could actually create added value in citizen science projects. And also that citizen science in general could or should be given higher priorities. Of course, it's a very interesting conflict, because when we work into the day-to-day in universities and research libraries, it seems there is a lack in competences and there seems to be a lack in prioritization, which is, of course, interesting and something to discuss. In conclusion, and that is 4 minutes that I'm sure Christian and Torben could present for 30 minutes, citizen science seems to have the potential to grow networks and span networks with scientific institutions and civic society, and can broaden public participation. And NGO and the public sector fosters links between science and society, and also research libraries and public libraries may serve as network builders and intermediaries. So there is a potential for libraries, in this case, to play a role. And I think also from the survey, it's very interesting that citizen science in Denmark seems to be moving away from being not exclusively, but predominantly in natural science into other kinds of research, which is interesting in the long run. Part 2 is cases on the local, national, and international level. And it's to say that, of course, this survey from Torben and Christian has not worked in a vacuum. At SDU, the university and library where I come from, we have been working with the Citizen Science Network for 3 years now, and have been working in a sort of loose networks of partners, where library and faculty staff are tagging up in order to be the sort of go-between between researchers and public engagement. And I think that is a fairly successful model, at least for us at SDU. But of course, it's very critical to say that if citizen science in the long run should be sustainable, there is some institutional legwork and groundwork and organization and prioritization to be done in order to succeed that. But at SDU, we are happy with the model that we have, but it's no secret that we would try to grow it into the model presented by Paul Eris and Tiberius, which is some of in the next presentation. Also to say that libraries could play a part in growing citizen science, at least at the national level, and our argument will be also at the international level. We have had this ongoing project for 2 years among research libraries. We have worked with competence development, we have worked with teaching, and part of the teaching is the presentation by Professor Jacob Buur later on the SDU talent program. We have worked with fair data, science literacy, and the library as citizen science hub. And some of the keywords we have come up is that there are a number of things into organization that seems critical. Also, very briefly, thank you, Tiberius. We work at the LIBER Citizen Science Working Group on a number of projects, and are trying later in 2020 and 21 to sign partnerships agreement, deliver a template on single point of contact, and also deliver webinars. But it's very quickly to say that on these 3 levels, and building on the research for Torben and Christian, there seems to be a role within academia to grow citizen science. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. And Henk is our next presenter. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Tiberius. My name is Henk Mulder. I'm Program Director for Master Program in Science, Education and Communication in Groningen University. I'm also the chairman of the science shops in Groningen. We've prepared this session together with some colleagues, with Bruno de Marchi, Christian Nold, Frank Osterman, and Jacco Jellema. So it's not only my way of thinking, but just to take you through my steps that led me to the ECSA Conference. So I'm a teacher, both in the Science Education and Communication program, but also in the Energy and Environmental Sciences program. And I really wanted to teach and train my students in doing citizen science because of its growing importance. So I went out on a search for an answer to this question. And I took a similar approach that I did when I was making an inventory of all university teaching on science communication. And we wrote a paper about that in the Journal of Science Communication. In Science Communication, not the Journal of, because that's the Italian journal. So I will gladly share my slides with you, in which you have all the links to what I'm telling here. We found out that the EU Citizen Science Project, on which advisory panel I am, did a big survey. So this was done by Christian Nold and Alice Shepard, amongst others. So they had some information about what training programs there were. And we did some snowballing and web search, all with the intention to maybe adapt what's out there, or maybe to collaborate with others to develop modules, to share them. And in the end, we intend to have like an introductory course of 5 European credits, or a real project as add-on, or maybe in the end have a minor or a full master track. So that's my ultimate goal. So what we found is that some courses give some general information on citizen science, for instance, in science and technology studies, introductory courses, in science communication courses, etc. So students will at least have some understanding of what citizen science is, some knowledge. Also, we found out that in curricula, some students do work on projects based on research questions from civil society, especially through the science shop. So that's one of the elements of citizen science. In this case, the question comes from society. Sometimes students participate in citizen science projects as volunteers or as part of the studies, and sometimes to learn more about science, but also just to give some hands-on. And we found out, especially from the survey done by Christian Nold and Alice Shepard, that there's various training programs on capacity building programs on various elements of citizen science, not specifically geared towards students in higher education, but more to volunteers or organizations or other stakeholders. So very general. We found out there's one dedicated MOOC from UCL, which I think officially is 30 hours, but I can tell you it's impossible. So it's maybe just the time that you're busy watching the videos, etc. This MOOC is very complete. It has quite a lot of topics addressed, both by teachers and by experts, and use videos and additional reading materials. So it's really a great university course. And of course, people from UCL can tell you a lot more about that than I can. And this is a good basis for my thinking. I can look at this and think, how can I translate this to my national or local context? What can I add in modules, etc. I also spoke to 2 people that have started to set up a course on citizen science at this moment. And I talked to Alexandra Szekledi of the Environmental Sciences, Social Sciences Research Group in Hungary. They're setting up an introductory course in Hungarian, and they're using the resources of the EU Citizen Science platform that you may be familiar with by now. They want to have 2 hours per week and 1 meeting, and they want to make short videos by experts explaining different parts. It should be open access, and it's an opportunity for PhD students in natural sciences to become familiar with citizen science. And especially in the Hungarian case, it's important for them to get familiar with the democratizing endeavor of citizen science and successful projects. And they're also developing a tool to do projects on citizen science. So this is a local initiative focusing on the needs currently in Hungary. I also spoke to Professor Kostas Karatsas of University of Thessaloniki in Greece. And he's already teaching a course on air pollution for quite a long time in a master program on environmental protection and sustainable development. And he told me, well, we're doing this for 15 years, and then we called it participatory sensing. Nowadays, it's called citizen science. So because he's already teaching this course, he can slowly change the content more towards citizen science. And what they do with their students, he demonstrates devices that are commonly used in citizen science projects and discussing the engineering and scientific aspects of the measurements. And he connects this to the best practices from relevant citizen science projects in Thessaloniki, such as a living lab in which they monitor air quality in real time in a building in the city. But they also discussed aspects of perception of science, which is rather new for engineering students. And yet, in contrast to what I know of the MOOC and of the Hungarian project, he has thought already about grading the students, which is one of my problems as well. And he wants them to make a plan for a citizen science project, including all the things that you should think of: resources, time, engaging citizens, keeping them engaged, and inclusivity. He's also thinking about using peer grading in this course. So what we want to do in the Zoom breakout room, and of course we had planned for a full 1.5 hour session when we submitted this to ECSA, but we want to focus on what other best practices are out there, what do you know, and how have you found ways to assess and grade students in this. Maybe in the future start an ECSA working group for teaching citizen science, or a sub-working group, because there's already a working group on citizen science in learning and education, of which the current focus seems to me, but I'm here to learn more about training in general for different target groups, or using citizen science as a way to learn more about science. Maybe we can start working together to create and test international modules, and maybe we can apply for funding to Horizon Europe. So these are some of the things that we want to discuss with you in our breakout group. And maybe if we have more time, we can talk about these elements as well, like how do we convince our policymakers at university that this is important, what contents need these courses have, and how can we get students to really do this in their own practice and student lives and volunteer. So that's, for me, it's my 7.5 minutes, so I'll give the floor back to Tiberius. Or to the next speaker.
Do I just get started or any introduction? My name is Jacob Buur. I'd like to thank the organizers for the chance to present here. And I want to report on a talent program that we established at the University of Southern Denmark this spring, together with Thomas Kaarsted that you just heard, and then two of our colleagues, Christina Fyn Nielsen and Daniel Johansen. It was an attempt to boost citizen science across the university, some of what Thomas called as institutional legwork. What can we do to improve the status of citizen science? A talent program addresses high achiever students who have the capacity to do work beyond their regular study program. And for this program, we managed to select 27 students from across the different faculties. In groups of 3, we asked them to work with citizen science challenges that were suggested by colleagues across the faculties. So each group had a science advisor who would come in with the science part, and then the program faculty would supply citizen science methods. So both social science, natural sciences, health sciences, humanities, and engineering was represented. What we did to prepare the students was run a number of master classes with professors from journalism and myself from participatory design, media science, community building, science communication, data science. And then we invited some international experts to run workshops with the students. And we had a track alongside on career coaching. What will you actually be able to use this for your career? Activities to try out other CS project platforms, and we engaged our professional actors to also train, act out, you could say, the encounters with citizens. Here's one example: rethinking food, about how people perceive food and how it can help towards sustainability. With a science advisor, Daniel White from humanities. And here the students managed to engage 5 families in try to cook with alternative ingredients for a 2-week period. And the group had 2 designers and a political science student. Cats as predators, perhaps a more sort of classic citizen science project with a natural science professor from biology about what cats bring home, you could say. So the 3 students here engage 17 cat owners with a total of 28 cats, and managed to engage them in collecting pictures of the prey that they brought home. And then 7 other projects. Towards the end, we tried to facilitate them writing a small science paper at the final summer school, and to present it in a small conference. So what I'm really interested in here is how we manage to build communities. We're still not there, I suppose, but it's clear that in this activity we can engage science advisors across all faculties in this shared interest. And our hope is at some point that we can talk about them as citizen science advisors. And then, of course, between the students that also come from programs across the university, we can build a network that they can draw on later on. And each team, of course, built their own community with citizens. Here are some of the reactions. What did the students actually say? One of the things we found quite important is, can we train them to argue citizen science benefits in this science world? And you can say, they say it created an idea as to how projects can apply citizen science to gather information that is not only biased by researchers. And the master classes helped us defend why CS is a valid form of collecting data. This later helped form arguments to our science advisors. So they actually had also issues between the students understanding more about citizen science than the science advisor. And it helps to make the research valuable for citizens as well, thereby gives the opportunity to really change something in society. And I think that's really what students are after, that what they do isn't just turning into a report, but they are able to make some form of impact. with the science advisors, we asked them, did the program change your view on citizen science? And it's quite clear that they've got the broader view of citizen science, understand better the breadth of possibilities. And in one case, the historian, he even saw that this would be an interesting case to apply funding to expand the program. So that was my brief report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob, and sorry for my mic not working properly before. Thank you for this interesting presentation and for being here with us. And Isabel, last but not least, the floor is yours.
So I'm right now sharing my screen, and please advise if you don't see it. I think it will come in a few seconds, if I am lucky. Okay, so my talk will be about citizen science with and for public libraries. And this is a work with my colleagues of Open Systems from the University of Barcelona. I will explain two projects that we've done in the Barcelona region. So when we think about public libraries, we may have still this old-fashioned image in mind. But in fact, public libraries are not only books. There are spaces that can be multidisciplinary, transcultural, transgenerational. There are infrastructures with IT equipment, rooms, and this is geographically distributed in the territory. But most importantly, there are communities made of local users, librarians, civil society organizations, and administration. And taking all these parameters into account, we designed the project Citizen Science in Action that was funded with, by the Diputació Barcelona, which is the Barcelona region network of public libraries, which is giving service to more than 2 million people. And we had two sub-projects, one devoted to the capacitation of librarians in citizen science, and the second one, it was about co-creating a citizen social science project. My colleagues may be able to share with you through the chat a link of a paper we just submitted. So this is also the map of the Barcelona region with all the libraries participating. So these are the librarians we worked with. As you can see, mostly women, mostly young. We were 4 researchers, but we had also the functions of trainers and facilitators. And we did altogether 25 hours of capacitation and training. For the co-creation, 40 users participated, and then we had more than 400 participants to the collective experiments we did in the end. So first, concerning librarians' capacitation, this is a quite complex diagram. I will go back to in the breakout in Zoom to explain it into details if you are interested, but the basic idea was that librarians should be involved in testing and in choosing the best citizen science projects they can implement in their libraries. And together with them, we created this publication, which was printed, but also which is openly available in Zenodo. So it's an open publication for librarians, library users, and anyone interested in citizen science. And it describes 10 projects chosen by the librarians and all they could be implemented in the libraries and giving very practical points. So concerning the results, before capacitation, only around a third of librarians did see themselves capable of providing some contents related with citizen science. And luckily, after participation, all the librarians have declared able to recommend and to explain some citizen science project where they were also very motivated to be more engaged in citizen science. So the second part of the project is about citizen social science. There is a a huge debate on what is citizen social science, and also that's what we are talking about in the frame of the COACT Horizon project that we are coordinating with all these 9 partners. But we prefer, instead of giving a close definition, to say that citizen social science is some kind of region in between social sciences and humanities, activism, and citizen science. And that's the spirit of the co-created citizen social science project we did with 4 libraries in 3 cities. And once again, I will come back to this scheme in Zoom. But the idea is that we were training the librarians to be able to, by themselves, facilitate co-creation sessions in their libraries. And that's are some examples of this session that were very lively and sometimes messy. But it was also a great opportunity for the librarians to involve some more new users, for example, coming from migrants associations that never went to the library before. So in the end, we co-created a collective experiment that was placed in 3 public spaces, and that was about a shared social concern about the access to housing. And we implemented a game through a digital platform, and more than 400 participants participated to this experiment. So as you see, many diverse participants, and it was really a great opportunity was also to be in contact with the citizens. So concerning the results, concerning the library users, 70% agreed that this experience has positively changed their perception of the library, and they were very motivated and satisfied with the experiment. And also the librarians experienced a great motivation to do this collective experiment. So all is this related to higher education. So as I think it was Henk explaining how to teach citizen science. So this is a work done by a graduate thesis student, and that analyzed the results, and many interesting features are already popping out. For example, the left figures is showing that the expansion of the price, because we are looking for the price of the rent, the amplitude is really rising for young people, and we explain that by the volatility of the housing market. And the second figure on the right is showing that really the price, the renting price, is increasing when people are participating to the game. So, and hopefully that will be another connection, and there is already one, like Thomas explained, with research libraries, because we think that capacitation of librarians, students, and researchers in citizen science could be ideally done in this frame, and also because we could think about implementing a co-creation process of the research inside the research libraries. So to conclude with citizen science for public libraries, because we think that really specific projects are matching with each kind of library, and it has to be specific, and it has to be, the librarians also should have the freedom to choose the projects. And citizen science with public libraries, because we think that, and we have demonstrated that citizenship.
1 minute, 60 seconds, Isabel. Sorry.
Social science is strengthening the social. So I'm on time. So thank you so much for listening. This is our webpage, our Twitter, my email address if you want to contact me. And yeah, and that was a picture of all the team with Sonia, which was a very nice and funny librarian we worked with. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. And the same goes for Jacob, for Henk, for Thomas, for their interesting presentations. We are now moving to Zoom. And I hope you all received the link to get there. You will be allocated to a breakout. You are now seeing the Zoom link there. Please go on and we will see you in Zoom in a very short time. I remind to everyone that it's now the right time to pose your questions in Zoom. Speakers are now getting in slowly. We should be around 45, 50 people, and I hope we will all reconvene now in Zoom.
Hey, hey.